Dad, isn't it time for illegal ham in the face? But bro, where's the banjo?
Some Cleveland sports shows try to give you hot takes, but only one can give you a big old piece of hot ham. Welcome to Illegal Ham to the Face. Talking all Cleveland sports. And don't forget our Fat Boy Tuesday, where we also ham it up with some fun food topics. Without further ado, let's serve up some ham. Here are the Ham Boys. Fatty, Big Bri, and my cousin Vinny.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Illegal Ham to the Face. I am Jared Fatty Bates, or that fat guy. I got Big Bri here with me. What's going on, Big Bri?
What's up?
Oh, not much. Just another day in paradise, right?
Heck yeah, no doubt.
All right. So we got a great show for you guys today. We have Chris Easterling from the Akron Beacon Journal, Browns beat reporter for them, joining us to talk all Browns this week. We're going straight all Browns. We got trivia. I got a trivia for Bri, and Bri's got a trivia for you if you want to join the Illegal Ham to the Face Fantasy Football League this year. Brian's going to put out a trivia. The first 6 to get it are locked in, and then we will have 4 spots left over that we are holding on to until next week. So you can get your spots in now, play for that. Also, we're going to be going through the Browns training camp, the last preseason game against the Eagles. We're going to get into the suspension news that happened right after we got done with Watson getting 11 games and a $5 million fine. For Fat Boy Tuesday this week, we are talking school lunches. It's back to school time. I just got done packing my kiddos' lunch for tomorrow. And then our top 3, we are talking offensive players this year with a sleeper. All right, so our top offensive players this year with a sleeper. So please stay tuned. We'll have Chris Easterling on here in about, 10, 15 minutes. But you know what we always got to do right out of the gate, Brian? We got to give Harold and the APA a great shout out right out of the gate. He's our sponsor. He's been our sponsor pretty much ever since we started the show. Can't thank him enough. He's still looking for people and teams to join the Lake Erie APA. Please get a hold of me or Bri or, my cousin Vinny when you see him out and about. And we'll get you hooked up to the Lake Erie APA. We'll get you locked in. He's talking about covering some membership fees for new players. So please hit us up if you want to play in the Lake Erie APA League. Get a hold of me or on Facebook at Harold Keel, and that's Kheel, some of that nature. It's a weird spelling. Or the Lake Erie APA pool page, and you can get your stuff locked in there. Other than that, Bri, we're ready to go, bud. We're running. Football is here. We got the last week before college starts. We got Browns preseason still. Who are we playing this week? The Bears?
Bears.
Bears. So we're going to get into that a little bit. But, Bri, do you have any shout-outs this week that you want to get out there for anybody?
No, I wish I was. I've been slacking on my shout-outs. I apologize. I got nobody. Sorry to all my friends and family and loved ones. Step your game up. Maybe I'll shout you out next week.
All right. I only got a couple. I got to shout out my dad. I got to talk to him today a little bit. Some things are going on, but that's okay. And then I got to shout out my boy down in North Carolina, my one in Michigan, Junior and Dojo. Can't wait to see you guys again. We're trying to get together and set something up, get the Twin Trio family back together and seeing each other because all the kids are just getting big right now. Sure. Other than that, that's it for me. But we do got to get into a trivia time, Bri. All right, you ready for that?
Yeah.
All right, so this is my trivia to you. Okay, I'm clicking all the buttons here. I'm ready to go. Look at this. Our trivia is brought to you by Papa V and Curb Appeal Landscaping. Get a hold of Papa V at curbappeal419.com. All right, Brian. So this year has been a magical year for your Cleveland Guardians, who hold down the first place spot right now. They're two games up. They play again tonight. We got rained out a couple times. They're playing some really good baseball right now, Brian. But my question to you is, how many new players have started for your Cleveland Guardians this year?
How many players have started a game?
Yep, new players.
Does that include pitchers?
That includes everybody.
That includes pitchers.
So new players that have been called up that have started for your Cleveland Guardians.
So like Jose Ramirez counts as one, right?
No. He's already played for your Cleveland Guardians.
You're saying this year has never started a game before this year?
Never started a game in the MLB at all this year.
Before this year. Okay.
All right.
Gotcha.
It's a toughie, but it's a goodie. It shows you how well that this team is right now, and especially some big, tough decisions that they got to illuminate down the road. But you want to talk a little bit about the Guardians right now before we get Chris in here?
Sure.
I mean, they're in first place. They've been streaky. They had the White Sox come into town. They have one hell of a win with pretty much 3 outs. It was a strikeout and a ball passed, and then next thing you know, we score 8 runs off of it. This team just doesn't know when to give up, Brian. I was telling Jay and Kevin Arnold from the Voice of the Land when I was talking to them, I said, I can't believe this team. Like, once you get into the 6th inning, this team's still, like, there's an extra gear they hit. And they're like, yeah, we're not losing this game. And they just come out and do it. I mean, it's been fun to watch. Fans have actually come out, showed up. Appreciate that. But, yeah, this is borderline crazy right now because all of us kind of predicted them to be maybe 2nd or 3rd in the standings because we thought White Sox and Twins were going to take over. But right now they're in first, and guess what? We're running for a pennant again, bud. I mean, welcome.
Yeah.
I mean, are you surprised by this team so far and what they've done?
Yeah, I don't. Yes and no, because at this point, the Indians, the Guardians, this front office, it seems like they're as consistent as you could possibly imagine. I mean, they're going to be up, they're going to be down, but for the most part, they're going to be around 500, a couple games above, and they'd never peak too high and they never drop too low. So it seems like that consistency is something that the other teams in Cleveland have been striving for. But yeah, I mean, to sit here and almost at the end of August and have a couple game lead in the Central, to say that I predicted that would be lying to you. So yeah, I knew they had the talent. I knew they had the coaches. You just didn't know how this young talent was going to do. And, guys like Quan has just been unbelievable this year. Came out of nowhere. I don't know. I mean, anybody outside of the Indians organization or the Guardians organization that could have predicted that. I think they're not telling the full story. So yeah, it's been fun. And I mean, another thing to go along with that is the White Sox have struggled this year. So I think a mixture of them not reaching expectations and the Guardians exceeding expectations has been quite a treat for Cleveland fans.
And then you got these upcoming stars. I mean, you got Jimenez, who we traded for with Lindor. Like you said, Quan is vying for the Rookie of the Year. I don't think he'll get it, but he should be right there with it. You got Tristan McKenzie, who we got a little sprinkle of last year,
right,
who has just stepped it up even more. I mean, this team is it's young, it's exciting, and we still don't know the cap of this place because we still got to get. I mean, next year you're looking at this team going, okay, well, we have good players, but are they going to be our starters next year? I mean, you got Owen Miller, you got Naylor, you got the other Naylor coming up as the catcher. You got a whole bunch of people still down the farm system that they still haven't seen yet. That's where they were trying to weed through the grass and everything else. So, I mean, it's been kind of crazy the way this team has gone, but I'll tell you what, you got to give, if anybody you got to give kudos to, you got to give it to Tito for keeping this team lively and just ready to go. I think it's livened up Tito a little bit. I mean, he got kicked out the other day, which has been a while since I've seen Tito blow a gasket.
Yeah, and he's the difference from last year's team and this year's team. And I don't know if baseball is the one sport where the head coach or the manager means the most, but certainly you can make a case for that this year if you've been watching a lot of Guardians games, because something's different this year than what we were watching last year. And they have that spark, they have that enthusiasm, that will not die attitude, and yeah, they just seem to find a way by hook or by crook. So let's hope it continues. Did I hear something today that is there 3 wild card teams now?
Yes.
How's that going to work?
So they did this last year. So you have 2 play that 1 game series to get in.
Okay.
So that's how it kind of works out. Because all right, I gotta call somebody to make sure.
So are there 2 teams that get buys, kind of, and then the lowest division winner has to play one of the wild card teams,
and then the wild card plays another wild card.
It's hard to keep track of it all.
Well,
I mean, kudos to baseball for trying to do something different to spice it up, because it was kind of ridiculous only having playing 162 games and only 4 teams from each league make it in. That's not fun for anybody.
Well, before we bring our special guest in, I want everybody, you got like 30 some odd games left, any of them that are here in Cleveland, go down and catch a Guardians game, help them out, support these guys. They have been playing their ass off for you all year, and they deserve your support. Go down there, buy a hot dog, buy a beer, sit in the bleachers, and just have a great time. Watch this team play. All right, but Bri, now we have our special guest here from the Akron Beacon Journal. He is the Browns beat reporter. Chris Easterling is joining us. What is going on, Chris? How you doing?
Doing great. How you guys doing?
Hey, Chris. Thanks for joining us.
I'm glad to be here.
We are doing okay. We had a little hiccup at the beginning of the show trying to figure out what we're doing for our fantasy football here a little bit later. But we're so glad to have you join us, because as huge Browns fans as we are, we try to predict everything that happens, but you're there watching the team all the time. So
I don't know if that helps with predictions or not. But
that's okay. We just want to know some answers. I mean, that's all. It's all Cleveland wants right now is just answers, and we still can't get them.
Right.
So starting out this year, this camp, we've had Deshaun Watson. We've been in the news since the offseason. It's been crazy, absolutely crazy. We'll save Deshaun Watson for later. But the way this team has been constructed, ready to go, I mean, this is a win-now team. Do you think that this suspension is going to hurt them trying to get a playoff run, especially with Brissett as a backup coming in to take over? Or do you think they still can push for the playoffs this year?
I think it hampers them. I don't think it eliminates them from playoff contention. I'll be perfectly honest. I think it's a couple of the other positions where it may hurt them. I think receiver is a spot where, outside of Amari Cooper, I still don't know if we have answers at that spot that make me feel good, regardless of who the quarterback is, who's going to actually catch the passes from them. And, the offensive line, I know the center position, losing Nick Harris in that preseason opener was tough, but at the same time, I think Heath Posick comes in and he's got a lot of, starting experience in the league. So I think, that'll come together, but I would push their percentage down, considering Jacoby's going to start 11 games and Deshaun's going to be out that time, but I wouldn't eliminate them. I think there's still a pathway, a narrow pathway, but a pathway for them to go into December, to go into those final 6 games with Deshaun at quarterback and have a chance to still push for an AFC playoff spot.
All right. So now with Jacoby at the helm, and we got 11 games out of him. We got Deshaun for the last 6 games. Obviously, this playbook is going to be different. Everything else is going to be different because they're 2 different quarterbacks. Because we haven't seen Jacoby yet. You have seen Jacoby. You've seen him in practice. You've seen him everything. We have not had a chance to watch him even throw the ball yet, but we've seen Josh Jacobs do very well.
Yeah.
Preseason games that we have. is Jacoby up to the task to actually take over this team and actually take it to where it needs to go?
I think he's gotten better since camp started. Obviously, I'm still not 100% sure what their plan was. They talked about they had this plan to get Jacoby ready. I'm not sure why it took until the fourth full squad practice to start getting him first team reps. But, I think he's capable. I like he's gotten better. I know this doesn't sound like a confident answer, but it's sort of, it's sort of the big unknown because you watch him in practice, and how much of it is the way they're setting up the script for that day's practice. How much is it putting the defense at an advantage? He's gotten better. I'd like to see him a little bit against Chicago, but I don't even know how much that's going to change the opinion. I guess the biggest thing is just there are enough guys in his background. Nick Sirianni, who was in this weekend with this past weekend with the Eagles, spoke so highly of him, and he was around him, what was probably one of his best year as a starter that year in Indianapolis in 2019. So. And he swears by him, swears that he's up to the task. So, I mean, until proven otherwise, I guess you have to give the people who've actually seen him in action, you got to give him the benefit of the doubt. But, that I think I got to see with my own eyes. Call me a doubting Thomas, if you will, but I'm going to just withhold he's all this or he's that until I see him in regular season games, because it's just I've seen some good things out of him, but I've also there's been things that you go, oh, that's why he's Jacoby Brissett, for lack of a better way of saying it.
Before I hand it over to Brian for the next question, so we are going to see him for like an entire half next week, right?
They haven't said exactly what their plans are going to be. My guess is you see him for a couple of series. I think they feel good enough with what Josh Dobbs has done. Joshua Dobbs, I guess, is how he prefers to be called. That they may feel like if they get, I think it's going to be a little bit by flow, how the game goes. If they go out and they have a couple of good series right off the bat, and they can move right down the field and put it in the end zone, they may say, look, we saw enough. Let's put guys in bubble wrap. We got a game that actually we need to win in a couple of weeks. But, if it's a little choppy, I can see them playing them 3-4, possessions, which would essentially be most of the first half. So, but, getting this group to give you anything before they absolutely have to give you anything, I may be able to get nuclear secrets out of the government before I can get how many drives is Jacoby Brissett going to get?
Well, certainly with Brissett, if the Browns want to have any sort of success, they're going to have to really lean on the run game and lean on this defense. And we saw at the end of last year, the defense really step up and, in my opinion, become a top 10, maybe top 5 defense, even just the way they played. And we know it's still a very young team and a very young defense. And we know the stars, we know the Garretts, the Wards, the Clowneys. But is there a player that you've seen in practice or in the preseason games that has really stood out to you on that defense, that maybe under the radar guy that is kind of ready to step up and become more of a household name?
If you ask guys like Myles Garrett, it's Jordan Elliott. But we haven't seen a lot of him in preseason games. Now he played in Jacksonville. He didn't play against the Eagles, but you watch him day in, day out at camp, and he's a guy that everything you've heard from even Chris Kiffin, defensive line coach and other defensive linemen, they all say he's one of the first names that pops out of their mouth, that he's a guy who came into camp, actually showed up for the offseason program as in as good a shape and had really transformed his attitude as much as anything, coming into this season. I think he more than anything knows that this is it, kind of. This is his kind of make or break season, being that 3rd round pick, 3rd year, out of Missouri. I like the rookie Martin Emerson. I like what I've seen out of him at corner. And the thing is, you've seen a lot of him and AJ Green this year, this preseason, just because of the way, you haven't had Newsome and Ward together on the field at all. And it's sort of a shame because I thought Greg was having a great camp up until the point where he hurt his hamstring. So, but, credit to AJ Green and Martin Emerson for really kind of grabbing the bull by the horn, so to speak, and taking their opportunity and making something out of it. And then I'm going to be curious to see Isaiah Thomas when he gets back on the field, because he really flashed in that opener in Jacksonville. And I think he's a guy that really, if you're talking about the 2 rookies out of Oklahoma they've got up on that defensive line, I kind of like him more than Winfrey, at least in the short term. Now, Perrion could develop into, what I think some people hope he can be. But I like what I saw Isaiah Thomas flash before. He obviously had the hand injury last week. And then he's supposed to be back for tomorrow for camp, for practice. I guess technically it's not camp anymore; it's just practice. But he's supposed to be back, and I'm curious to see how he finishes the preseason and what kind of impact he makes.
And so we're comfortable with where the defense is at. We're hoping that the run game can exceed expectations, and I think if everyone stays healthy, they will. But another one of the major headlines this leading into the fall has been Kareem Hunt and what his future is with the team. And we've talked on this show how Kareem Hunt is as great as Nick Chubb is. There's other teams that have great running backs, but Kareem Hunt is a backup like no other team has. So is there any future at all with the Browns going forward after this season? Do you think they look to trade him if the offer is right? What kind of compensation would he be looking at in return?
I think if there's a running back, I think actually that would net some value this, in the short term. I actually think it's Dearness more than it is Kareem. But
Is that because of the contract?
I just think it's younger. I think there's a little more. Again, we maybe lost in all of this Deshaun Watson stuff is, Kareem Hunt's another guy on this roster who's got a strike against him in the eyes of the NFL. Right. And I think that's something that a lot of teams just are like, look, he's coming off a lot of injuries, an injury-plagued season last year. He's got the strike against him. Dearness has a lot more tread on those tires, even though, Kareem, for one reason or another, doesn't have a lot of, wear and tear on him. He's been in the league longer, had a lot more carries, but, I guess it's a roundabout way to say if they could get something for Kareem, I don't think they would hesitate in doing it because I think they kind of like what they got in Jerome Ford. I mean, I think you're seeing it this preseason. In fact, I asked Kevin about this after the Eagles game. As much as Jerome has shown flashes in the running game, I love what he's done in the passing game. He has really shown in both games to be a legitimate threat out of the backfield to catch the football and do something with it. And I think in a lot of ways, even Stump Mitchell, the running backs coach, says, Kareem and Jerome stylistically are similar backs. So, that's why I wonder if that's just sort of the writing on the wall that even if Kareem stays on the team, they don't trade Kareem at some point, whether it's, around the cut down date or right after the cut down date before the regular season or even by the trade deadline. I still think that at the end of this year, maybe it's just, they say, hey, look, you've been a good soldier. You've been good. You turned yourself around here. in the eyes of the NFL and those who had doubts about you, off the field. We wish you luck, but we've got this kid, this rookie that we really like, and he does a lot of the same things, and we're going to go with him.
All right, so we watched both preseason games, and we watched Anthony Schwartz, and I know he is a third-round pick. They got high hopes for him. Is there any way he can catch the ball? I'm just curious because I saw him catch the one on the sideline, but it just seems like the easy ones that hit him in the hands. He's worried about what's downfield instead of what's in front of him, and trying to catch the ball. Are they going to keep him around enough if he doesn't start catching, or are they going to kind of move on for him if he can't pick it up?
I think if they had a better option, I think there's we were kind of amongst us today. We were kind of talking about this, and I think there's a legitimate question that if they had they're so beat up in that room and so unproven that almost by default, because if you take Anthony Schwartz off this roster, okay, well, who are you putting in his place?
Yeah.
Because look, we can go Amari, DPJ, Bell, Felton. We'll put Felton in the receiver room just for kicks and giggles. There's 4. After that, give me 3 more because again, Felton being a swing guy. Give me 3 more receivers you feel 100% confident are making this team. I'll make an argument for Mike Harley Jr. as a guy, but again, if he was one of the last cuts, that wouldn't surprise me either. Jamarcus Bradley, another guy. Hey, Dalen Baldwin was before he had the concussion on Sunday, was a guy who was really, I thought, was really opening a lot of eyes. Michael Woods but he hasn't been on the field for a week, 2 weeks, whatever it's been. So they're so thin at that spot with guys who have actually done anything in the NFL that I think that they still believe in Anthony, but I think the biggest person who's struggling believing in Anthony Schwartz is Anthony Schwartz.
Yeah.
And he all but admitted that last week coming out of the Jacksonville game that he's got to get out of his own head. And I think a lot of it is just mental. And, he came out of an offense at Auburn that, I watch a lot of SEC football and watch a lot of Auburn games. And it was a gimmicky offense that doesn't, if you're a receiver, it doesn't prepare you in any way, shape, or form to be an NFL receiver, especially what they were doing with Anthony.
Yeah.
And I think he's still his career got off to a slow start with the way camp started for him last year. This camp got off to a slow start. I think he's still learning how to be a receiver, quite frankly, in the truest sense of the word. And I think they're just hoping that at some point there's just that breakthrough that, hey, he finally got it. He's gotten out of his own head. He's gotten the technique down. He's gotten all this down, and he can go out and just play football and be what I think they hope they would be, which was a guy who can stretch the defense. Because I'm not sure they really, DPJ can at times, he can at times, but Amari can, but that's not what you're not asking Amari just run a 9 route, you want him to kind of work all those intricate routes because he's such a great route runner. So I think Anthony Schwartz is on this team until at least for this year. And then, but next year, I really think that, he's sort of in the Jordan Elliott boat where it's time to produce.
So with that being said, obviously we all know the wide receiver room and where it's at. Are they going to pick up another free agent?
I would be stunned if they didn't. I would be stunned if there was not some movement around cut down day that T.Y. Hilton, absolutely. I saw, I read a colleague of mine's roster projection, just kind of glanced at it, and he mentioned Jalen Reagor, making a trade for him. I mean,
Right.
I think all options are open, and you have to have all options open because this receiving core, quite frankly, isn't good enough to. Regardless of who the quarterback is, it isn't good enough when you look around. It may be the third best receiving core in Ohio, and that includes a team that plays in Columbus. It's not even in the NFL. So, I mean,
You just made my day.
I wish I could say something better, and I don't. I mean, it's just there's just so much unprovenness that there's things you like about them, but each one of them also has a check mark against them that you just some of it's their own doing, some of them they can't help it. They're just rookies or first year, young guys that you're still waiting to bloom, and they're going to have to do it with a backup quarterback being their starter, and just about every one of them having spent some time injured during the course of this preseason. So I wish I had a better answer, but yeah, I am surprised that I saw T.Y. Hilton there. I am surprised that he, you had heard early in camp that there was talk that he was going to go back to the Colts, and nothing's materialized with it. I mean, he's at least worked with Jacoby.
Yeah.
I mean,
sure.
There is at least a connection there that I don't that you have to explore, and you have to do something with that room, because that room is Amari Cooper is great. Getting to watch him in person has been a treat, just because you can just see he's just such a pro, such a tactician in how he runs his routes. But everything around him else is just young and unproven, and I mean, a good defensive coach, and there's a lot of them in this division, let alone this league, can figure out pretty easily. We're going to I'll take Amari Cooper away, and then leave you with hope and a prayer as your next two options.
So sticking with this receiving core, we know we all love what Andrew Berry has done, but one thing that's kind of been his blind spot is the tight end position, and the contract that he gave to Austin Hooper didn't really pay off, and he keeps shelling out money to these tight ends that haven't proven a whole lot. So what kind of season can we hope for from David Njoku to hopefully live up to his contract?
He has to become a number one tight end. He has to display that's the period, full stop. He has to become a guy who is talked about. I'm not talking about Travis Kelce. I'm not saying he's got to be talked about in the Travis Kelce, but a Darren Waller. You at least have to be a Darren Waller kind of productivity, let alone like a Mark Andrews or certainly, like we said, Travis Kelce. But no, he has to produce. There's no question about it. And that's the, I don't even remember how much the contract is, but that's the big whatever that price tag is. The X million dollar question on him.
Yeah,
and we haven't seen it other than, again, fits and spurts throughout his career, and until with so many of these guys, it's the same word: consistency. And if they're consistently to what they're capable, their potential is, this is an extremely good football team, an extremely talented football team. But it's just that inconsistency is why, even with a competent Jacoby Brissett, you can go 7 or 8 wins, and that's the ceiling, because you don't know what you're going to get, and that's that's what you can't. That's what you say about David Njoku. That's not what you say when you talk about Mark Andrews or Travis Kelce or guys like that. And he's got to shake that. He's got to get where he can be consistent, and they need him in this offense, especially considering the way this state of the receiving core.
And so now that we know that it's 11 games for Deshaun Watson, and we're going to have hopefully a healthy Jacoby Brissett for 11 games, what is a realistic expectation for this team to finish when he hands it over to Deshaun in that 12th game? Is it possible to get, it's always possible, but is it realistic to think that this team can get 6 wins, go 6-5, and still be in the hunt after 11 games?
I don't think it's unreasonable to hope that. I wouldn't like bet my mortgage on it or anything, but is there again, like I said earlier, there's a pathway to where the defense comes out and plays lights out, plays like they did toward the end of last season. The running game is one of the best in the NFL. The offensive line is one of the best in the NFL, and Jacoby Brissett manages the offense from the quarterback position well enough that you can beat Carolina, the Jets, Pittsburgh, maybe New England, Miami, and then steal one a Monday nighter against Cincinnati. Yeah, so
Right.
Is there a pathway to? Because if you hand it off at 6-5 to Deshaun, and he's able to sort of hit the ground running, which is a big if, then you're still right in the mix. I mean that you're set up potentially for a big December. But
do you think? Sorry to cut you off, but do you think now that we know what our fate is to start this year, one of the major gripes last year with the offense was that they got away from running the ball, their bread and butter, too quickly, and tried to make Baker throw it a bunch. Do you think now that we know heading into the season that we're going to have a backup quarterback for the first 11 games, do you think they make that a point of emphasis right now as to let's run the ball, we're not going to stray away from this game plan, and we know, hey, this is what we have to do for the first 2 months, rather than last year, you weren't sure how healthy Baker was going to be. He was so much of a momentum player. You didn't know how he was going to sling it around and get comfortable in the pocket. So now give it to the running backs as much as possible. Do you think we see that swing from pass heavy to more run heavy going into these games?
I'll answer it this way. I think the running backs become much more involved. I'll answer it that way. Either running the football a lot more, elevating the percentage of the offense that's running, or just in utilizing them again in that passing game, in the short passing games, the way they, getting a Kareem Hunt on the field and involved, maybe at the same time that you have Nick Chubb on the field. Getting even a Jerome Ford or Dearness Johnson involved in the receiving game a little bit. I think this has to be a running back centric offense. Maybe not run centric offense, but a running back centric offense early on to kind of help them weather that first 11 games.
All right, Chris, got a few rapid fire questions for you before we get you off here. I can't thank you enough for your time.
I'm good. Happy to be here.
All right. So first off, do we have a kicker?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Love to hear that.
Yes, I he's a rock star.
Okay.
That kid is a rock star, and I think he knows he's a rock star. But he's got just I love the kid's demeanor. He's got the perfect demeanor to be a kicker who you throw out there to kick big kicks, because he's like, he knows he's good, and he'll sort of off the cuff tell you he's good, but he'll also the very next breath like know that I gotta still work. I haven't done anything. He also feels like a kid that knows that I can't rest on my laurels. I got to put the work in, and you watch him at camp, and he's putting the work in as well. So yeah, I believe Cade York Cade York, you have the kicker here.
All right.
Awesome.
A surprise cut or a surprise keep?
Surprise keep or cut. Chase Winovich, cut.
Wow. Oh, you just broke Brian's heart right there.
What?
Killing
You
me.
make the club in the tub.
Oh, boy. All right. Next rapid fire question. Who is the darling in camp this year?
Cade York.
Is it? All right.
Heck yeah.
All right. Now we are all fat boys here, and we have a Fat Boy Tuesday where we talk food. So now we're really about to have some fun with you. All right. What is your best dive spot to eat at that nobody knows? Like off the beaten path food or restaurant that you go to?
Let me think here for a minute. It's a place in Massillon, Ohio called the Cameo Grill.
Okay.
It's cash only, but those who know. Great burgers, great breakfast. That's a place to. That's if you're looking to get a good meal. That's a place to go.
Probably write it down.
Cameo Grill. I got it.
Write it down. All right. Favorite meal as a child?
Oh, I was your mac and cheese. I was just, keep it simple. We have to get too fancy. We just, stick to the basics, and I'm good. But not like the Kraft mac and cheese. No, I need my mom made homemade mac and cheese, and that was the stuff.
You were spoiled. Holy cow!
I earned this physique, my man. I earned this. Although back then I was a svelte kid. Back then I was. It was only when I graduated from high school, went off to college, and was introduced. I went to an SEC school, so Southern comfort food.
Oh yeah.
They had a place in the student union called Grandma's Kitchen, which was Southern comfort food, fried chicken and mac and cheese. And I ran out. My meal plan was every day. But what's stunning? Why are you 60 pounds heavier when you got home? I think they would have been happier if I said, "Well, I started drinking, Mom."
What SEC school did you go to?
Kentucky.
Oh, okay, sure.
Kentucky.
There
Yes,
you go.
we are SEC.
Yeah. Oh yeah, SEC North. Sure.
He rebounded himself a little bit for you, Brian. Even though he's got
I like that.
He's got a
Oh
little
yeah.
in him. All right.
SEC football's just different.
I know.
It is. So it is.
It's a way of life.
What is one thing that is a hell no that you won't eat?
I'll eat a lot. It's you know what? I'm not a big oysters guy.
Okay.
I know a lot of people like oysters and mussels. They'll go out to dinner and the place they'll have appetizers. I've just never been somebody like that. But other than that, I again, well learned.
All right. And we are getting into later here on our show, we're getting into school lunches. I mean, I packed my kids' school lunches today. So what is your favorite school lunch when you were growing up as a kid?
We at Northwest High School in Canal Fulton, we called it pizza bobs. They were basically English muffins, like a half of an English muffin.
Okay.
And then you basically just made them into little mini pizzas. We called them pizza bobs.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Nice.
But that Pizza Bob Day was a I have to race to the line because I got to be,
Love it.
But that was the personal favorite.
All right. One
Awesome.
last Browns question before we get you off here, because I know you're a busy man. What is it actually like to be a Browns beat reporter and to report the Browns every day and be there and see them in person?
It's a lot of work. I mean, it is. you walk out of the building exhausted because a lot of times it's a constant, go point. You're constantly doing something, you're constantly chasing something. But I'd be lying if I said I'm not having the time of my life. I mean, that I don't love what I do because I grew up here in Northeast Ohio. I grew up reading the Beacon Journal, reading the Plain Dealer, reading about the Browns. And when I got into sports writing, I had two paths. I would, there were like two paths I wanted to take. I either wanted to cover SEC football for like the paper in down south, like in Atlanta or Nashville or someplace like that, or I wanted to cover the Cleveland Browns for the Beacon Journal. And here I have my dream job. So
living the dream, sure.
So I know it's chic. It's amongst some to act like what, and it is tough. I don't want to minimize. It's a challenge. There are things to this job that are really stressful and really challenging, but I love what I do, and I feel blessed that I get to do it, even as you deal with all the insert word here that surrounds this football team at times.
All right, Chris, thank you so much for joining us. Let everybody know where they can find you. They can find you at Akron Beacon Journal. Give them your Twitter handle and everything else.
The Twitter handle is C Easterling ABJ. That's C Easter like the holiday with an LING with the ABJ at the end. And then beaconjournal.com is where the Beacon Journal website. And follow, subscribe, and I still think there's an interesting season coming up, even if it may not be necessarily the final result we thought, but if nothing else, the journey is going to make the getting to the destination quite intriguing.
They're always entertaining. Never a dull season with the Browns.
No, they can't just suck. They do it with a little panache, a little flair to it. Is
So
unlike
you're talking about
else.
That's good for business.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. Well,
Thanks, Chris.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Come back halfway through the season. That works?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to do it.
We appreciate you very much.
Hey, thanks again.
Have a great night.
You too.
That was Chris Easterling from the Akron Beacon Journal. How awesome was he, Bri?
That was great. Yeah, that was a lot of fun talking to
I
him.
loved it. I'm sitting there. Hey, and especially there at the end when, explaining what being a beat reporter is all about. I mean, yes, I know it's stressful and everything else. And you get a couple of knuckleheads like us asking them questions. And the great thing is, I think we only asked one Deshaun Watson question, buddy.
I don't even know if you qualify that as a Deshaun Watson question. It was kind of like, we know Deshaun's not going to be there. Yeah. So him talking about, and I don't know if I've ever even told you this story, him talking about being a beat writer reminded me, excuse me, for my senior project in high school, we were supposed to go out and shadow somebody in the community. And I think we had to do it for like 40 hours or something. Well, my saint of a mother contacted a couple people, and I shadowed two people, both sports guys. One was Kenny Rhoda for KNR. Okay. He lived in Medina. And the other guy was Steve King, who I think he went to the Elyria Chronicle, but at the time he was with the Medina Gazette. And so this was in the springtime, and it was shortly after the draft. And so they were having a rookie camp. And this was in 2003. So I got to shadow him at the Browns facility in the rookie camp. And Jeff Fain was our first round pick. I think Sean Thompson with a C was our second round pick. And so I got to go there and kind of hang out there for a couple days. And the funny part about it was at the end of day one, I'm sitting there. He's kind of BSing with all his other writers and people in the media. And I'm just sitting there kind of hanging out, taking it all in. And he kind of looks at me and he goes, "Hey, Rob, do you want a drink?" And I'm like, he talking to me? Like, yeah, Rob, you want something? He was calling me Rob. So at that point, it was too far into the game. I let him call me Rob for about 3 days. So I had to be on top of my game listening for Rob. It's something I'm not used to listening for. So, but that was a blast. He was awesome.
Oh, that's amazing. I can't thank you enough. That was a great interview, a great time. And especially to play around there a little bit afterwards when we did the fast Cade York. We have a kicker, Bri.
I'm telling you, everyone seems to think so, and it's a lot of fun to. And I'm telling you, if he turns out to be the kicker that we hope and we think he is, he was worth a first-round pick.
Oh yeah, well, hey.
I told you if he's that good and when we drafted him in the 4th round, definitely worth it.
Oh yeah. Who was the kicker? It's not Janikowski. Was it Janikowski?
Janikowski was drafted in the 1st round.
Yep. He's drafted in 1st round.
As far as I know, I can't remember if Nugent was the 2nd round or the 3rd round.
I think 3rd.
Was he 3rd? Tampa Bay had drafted Aguayo a couple years ago in the 2nd round, and he was terrible. But yeah, there have been a couple 2nd and 3rd rounders, so I didn't think it was that much of a reach if he's that good.
No, hell no.
Yeah.
I mean, it fills a spot, and then guess what? You don't have to go free agency and buy one. You drafted one. You got him locked up for 4 years.
Yeah, you get a guy who probably will lead your team in scoring almost every year. So, I mean, how could that be a bad thing?
All right, so everybody that's watching right now, Bri, you ready to give the fantasy football question?
Here we go. What everyone's been waiting for. Yep, fantasy football question.
Fantasy football. All right. We got 6 spots open right now. If you answer the question correctly, I will write down your name and you are locked in a spot, and we will contact you here a little bit later. So, Bri, go ahead with the trivia question.
Okay, so the trivia is going to be fantasy football related, and all you have to do is comment. Try to keep it to 2 answers. If you comment the first time, it's not right, comment again with your second answer. Should I give them the clue now or should I wait? What do you think?
By the way, I was wrong. Nugent was the 2nd rounder. I would wait on the clue. Let everybody try to answer first, and then we'll give the clue a little bit later.
So tell me in standard fantasy PPR leagues, who led fantasy football in scoring last year? Who's the leading scorer in all of fantasy?
Leading scorer in all of fantasy football. As soon as those comments come in, I'll let you know if you have made it.
In a PPR league.
In a PPR league. And on that note, Bri, we have got to go back to the preseason game. All right. We got to get our Big O player of the week from last week. Bri, who do you have?
I'm not going with Dobbs again. I thought Dobbs played well, and I'm still not 100% convinced. The bar was set so low for him that for him to look halfway decent, I was impressed by that again. But I'm going with a guy who's kind of been old faithful in preseason games over the last couple of years, and honestly, I can't believe he's not on a roster. I don't know if he was on a practice squad or what last year, but John Kelly, it always seems to, like, he makes things happen when you give him the ball. And I remember there was one play where the defense had him dead to rights in the backfield, like 5, 6, 7 yards back, and he managed to get at least to the line of scrimmage, maybe a gain of 1 or 2. But yeah, he seems to me like he's not too far behind Dearness Johnson. So I feel pretty comfortable. It's like the Indians with starting pitching. We're just so damn deep with running backs. It'd be nice if he could get on the field. So he would be my guy for this past week.
All right, Craig Foster's our first one in.
There you go, Craig.
Ham to the face. Football fantasy. All right. Cheers. My Big O of the week, and there's it's kind of Josh Dobbs played great. I'm not saying he didn't, but my Big O of the week, I do have to go with Anthony Schwartz. He dropped one pass, and they went right back to him the same exact pass, and he caught it. That kid needs some confidence, and he needs a lot of confidence and more confidence than what most people need. But I'll go with him for making that second catch after dropping the one right in front of him. he's got to get his hands a little bit better because I think he can be a threat on this offense if he can actually get a hold of the ball and actually hold on to it. All right, Bri, let me go back to our banners. Your big D of the week.
Oh boy, I was hoping you wouldn't ask me this. I can't say that anyone really. So I was watching the game, kind of in the background, so I didn't watch it too close. I watched it for maybe a quarter and a half. Nobody on defense really stuck out to me. I'm not going to sit here and kind of pull a name out of the hat and just say a name just for the sake of saying a name, but I don't know. Nobody really stood out to me too much.
The two names that stood out to me were Tony Fields and Richard LeCounte. Those were the two that were called a lot, so that's what I'm going to go with. And Bri, just not my day. Player of the week.
Josh Rosen, I guess. Would he complete 7 of 20 or something like that? Yeah, it wasn't a great day for him, and I don't know. Something about him just kind of rubs me the wrong way. Maybe it's probably just because he's wearing the number 19. I think he should have had a little more awareness than to not pick that one as a quarterback. But
he's a West kid. What do you expect?
Yeah, he'll have a good career as a surgeon or a doctor somewhere, pediatrician or something. I don't know what his next career is, but pretty sure he's not going to be in the National Football League too much longer.
All right, so my just not my day player of the week, and it is players of the week because watching the first half of that game and them run in between the tackles for whatever they wanted to run. I mean, it was 10 yards, 12 yards, 6 yards, 12 yards, 15 yards, 20 yards, 10 yards, 5 yards, 10 yards, 10 yards, and goal line stand. Not my day, defensive line. I need you guys to step it up a little bit and start tackling some people because that was kind of a little bit embarrassing right at the beginning. You guys shorted up at the end, but at the beginning, it was kind of like, all right, Bri, you ready to get into a Fat Boy Tuesday?
Okay.
Okay, I gotta see. This is the thing. I got too many clickers to do. I got fatty fails, and I got
And now it's time for Fat Boy Tuesday.
All right, so
and now
I almost did it twice.
Sure, why not?
All right, it happens. All right, so Bri, I can put the fatty fail up. Everybody knows it's only fatty that's failing right now. What was your favorite school lunches growing up? Because like right now, I just made my kids' lunches. We got a Go-Gurt, a York peppermint patty, applesauce, a ham and ketchup, a peanut butter and jelly, a smoothie, and I don't know what else I put in their lunches. I think pretzel.
Okay.
It's all
Now,
lunch.
Do they dunk the ham in the ketchup?
No, he put the ham all over the ketchup.
So they're eating ham and ketchup sandwiches, is what you're telling me.
Yes. No, one of them is. The other one is PB&J.
Okay. I got you. That kind of reminds me when I was young. So when you said this, I kind of thought like typically the ones that you buy from the school, maybe not pack yourself. And
oh no, that's fine. That's what I thought too. That's why I put it out there.
Okay, got you. So if we're talking about packing your own, PB&J, obviously you can't go wrong with. I used to do the other sandwich when I got sick and tired of PB&J. I would do bologna and ketchup, which kind of is no shocker to anybody out there. It's similar to a hot dog and French fries was something that was available every day at the Medina City schools. So no surprise there that I would get that when whatever they were serving for lunch didn't sound too good. But there's a couple that came to my mind. One in particular, the other two tacos. We had a pretty decent taco. They had like these similar to, I don't know if Taco Bell still makes those Fiesta potatoes or not.
I don't know for sure.
But we used to have something similar to that on the side. And so tacos with those, pretty damn solid. That was probably number 2. Number 3, I went with like simple. You wouldn't think of it, but breakfast, French toast sticks.
Mhm.
And yeah, something whenever you see them, that's what I kind of think of as a elementary, middle school lunch. But far and away, number one, the thing that stole the show was cheesy dippers, and they're basically just breadsticks. They melt cheese on the breadsticks, and you have like a side of meat sauce, and you just kind of dunk them in there. And
Hmm.
man, I haven't had those years and years and years, but something so simple. And I guess maybe with me loving pizza as much as I do, that shouldn't come as a surprise either. But yeah. So whenever I think of school lunches, that's where my mind goes immediately.
All right. So mine goes to first off the chocolate milk out of the little carton. Can't go wrong with
Hmm.
that. Also, the school pizzas. God, those school pizzas were amazing. I remember when it was pizza day, everybody would go nuts. For us at our school, we had a it was a noodle, it was a casserole. God, I can't think of the name of it offhand. Like tuna noodle casserole we had, which was really good. But
Okay.
then they had also what I always called shit on a shingle, but it was like their hamburger gravy on over top of like biscuits or bread.
Okay.
So we had that.
Heard of that.
We had it. So like our school was different because we had like a main meal line where you come in and get your main meal. Then we'd have a snack line that like on pizza day, it'd serve pizza both sides. But on the snack line, you would have like salads, you would have um, you know, fresh fruit, stuff like that you go through. Like I would go through there and get a salad because of wrestling and everything else. But I would go there and grab that and then go out and eat. And then I would go back in the other lunch line and grab that lunch and come out and eat. But you only, like for us, we had 3 lunch periods. So you only had like 30 minutes to eat your lunch. And then that was it. And I was like, all right, back to class. Let's go. But yeah, those are the ones that stood out the most was the school pizza and oh, that's what it was. Tater tot casserole. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Now
Casserole.
you're talking.
You can't go wrong with tater tot casserole. Oh, now I'm getting heart flutters. But yeah, I mean and like the kids, I saw like my kids' lunches now, and I started laughing a little bit because they're not hot dogs. They're like a veggie dog. Instead of baked beans, it's like a kidney red bean, and then like it's just weird how they're doing school lunches now.
Yeah,
But
just stop talking. I mean,
it's
that's
just
not.
it's
That's.
depressing.
I'm
It's
glad we grew up when we grew up because
Where our
everything
parents
now would
didn't
be
care about our health.
you
And
gotta eat kale and here's your spinach and an omelet with only egg whites.
hey, I remember going, Dad, I need an extra 325 for what? Double lunch. Double
Yeah.
lunch. Yeah, I need 2 lunches.
We used to have the big thing. If you just wanted to buy snacks or something, whatever they were serving you didn't like, we had fudge rounds. Do you remember the fudge rounds and the oatmeal cream pies? They were 25 cents. If you had an extra dime, which I mean back then a quarter was like worth $30.
Oh, yeah,
and what today you get 35 cents, you could get zebra cakes. And yeah, that was a big deal.
I remember making bets with people. We would make like a concoction on a plate, and if you ate it, everybody would start chipping in money if you actually ate it. Oh, it'd be right up your alley, but it was
Sure.
like chocolate milk, mashed potatoes, and applesauce all mixed together.
Sounds
Like,
pretty good. Yeah.
That's what I
It's all
thought.
good separately.
Well, no, it's all mixed together.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, that my thought process would be, I eat it separate, so why not eat it together?
All right, Brian, let's get into our top 3 and we'll close out our show. All right, bud?
Cool.
All right. Oh, here we go. We got pizza, nuggets, and mashed taters and peaches.
Yeah, nuggets. How we not talk about nuggets?
I forgot about the nuggets. Sorry, I forgot about the nuggets. Well, our top 3 tonight, Bri, as soon as I bring it up here, is offensive players that we think are going to do good this year with a sleeper. So I will go first since I threw you out of the loop last week and you're kind of just throwing me sleepers right out of the gate.
I'm ready. Well, no, you can go first, but before you, do you want me to? How we doing on the fan? Do you want me to give a hint to
Oh,
him?
we only had one respond, and that was Craig.
That was Craig. Okay, come on, James, throw a name out there.
We're giving away a spot for our fantasy legal ham of the face fantasy football league. Okay, and you have to answer who PPR wise was the number one player last year, and you could join the illegal ham of the face fantasy football league. But we'll wait on that. By the way,
Sure.
Another hint: it was a non-quarterback.
Yeah, not a quarterback.
Not a quarterback.
I'll help you out a little bit.
All right. So my 3 offensive players this year, plus a sleeper. I'm going to throw a group in there. I think the offensive line has got to step up and protect everybody. And that means the interior, I'm kind of okay with, even if we have like a little rookie center. Taylor and Batonio, I'm talking outside. Jed, Wills, and Conklin have got to stay healthy, and they got to step up a little bit. So watch out for them. My number 2 is probably going to shock everybody. Demetric Felton. I think he's going to have a little bit more of a scat back role in this, especially with the players they have. And obviously, number 1, you got to give Nick Chubb the ball. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Nick Chubb churns this offense. And when he churns, Browns churn. Bri, what about you? I'll give you my sleeper afterwards.
Well,
right.
For the second straight week, I'm pretty sure I did this wrong again because I was just doing top 3 best players on the offense. So I'll give you my top 3 best players on the offense. You can decide, if you agree, if you disagree, whatever. Number 3, I think the best, most impactful player on the offense is going to be Kareem Hunt. Talked him up, when he's healthy, he's damn good. And, he lets the defense not take it down off when Nick Chubb's off the field. So he's my number 3. My number 2, Joel Batonio. I mean, he's been as steady as they can get outside of Joe Thomas. He's been one of the best guards for several years now. And, he just keeps doing it, keeps turning away. And my number 1 is, like you said, Nick Chubb. I mean, we've said it before. I still think he's one of the most underrated players in the entire NFL. He's at worst the 4th best running back in the league. At best, he's your best. Because I always hear people preface it by saying, well, he's the best pure runner in the NFL. Like, what are running backs supposed to do? They're supposed to run the ball. So, yeah, the fact that they don't dump it down to him 80, 90 times like they do Najee Harris, that means that he's a worse player. No, give me a break. I mean, they could do that and get him 100 receptions every single year, but that's just not what they want to do.
All right, so Brad chimed in on All Eyes on Cleveland, said Felton, punt return and kick return on the depth chart, which that will help him out too because we need one of those.
Yeah.
All right, so Brian, you ready for my sleeper?
Mm-hmm.
Harrison Bryant is my sleeper. Reason why is I know Njoku is going to get pretty much the bulk of everything that they should get as a tight end. I still think Harrison Bryant on this team is going to put up some good numbers and will help. He'll be that possession tight end, the one that will sneak out and get you 6 yards if you need 5, 8 yards if you need 7. I think he's going to be that guy for the Cleveland Browns, and I hope he is. What about you, bud?
Yeah, I just talked about Nick Chubb being one of the most underrated players in the NFL, and this guy is also underrated. A lot of people sleeping on him. I don't know why. Jack Conklin, our right tackle, last time he was healthy on the field, he was an All-Pro, and
he's got to be healthy.
That means he's the best at his position. I mean, flat out, he was the best guy when he was healthy. He was the best right tackle in the league, and he just gets disrespected. I understand he has to stay healthy, but you could say that about every single player in the NFL. I mean, he missed 1 year. He missed the majority of 1 year. So if he can stay healthy, I think he's on the level of the Teller and the Batonio. I think he's that important. So I'm excited to have him back. When we had him at that right tackle position, we were the best offensive line in the league. So we can stay healthy. I know we lost a little bit at center, but I think we can get back to that point.
All right. So, Brian, we have one person. Craig Foster has joined the Illegal Ham to the Face.
Congrats, Craig.
We had Chris chime in, but Chris named a wrong person. Chris,
Did you get 2 guesses or just 1?
He gets 2 guesses. So, Chris, if you want to guess one more time before we go off the air.
Sure.
All right. We're saying our little final tidbits here.
It's not a running back. There's your second clue.
Yeah, it's not a running back. All right. But we are definitely here at the end of the show. We want to thank Chris Easterling for joining us tonight. What a great insight, great behind the scenes of what's going on at Browns training camp and everything else. And then there's Chris Spann. Chris Spann is our second one.
Cool.
So we got 2 down, Brian.
Awesome.
All right. I got it written down. But yeah, for him to come out, spend a few time with us and just ham it up with us, I really do appreciate his time. Go check him out at the Akron Beacon Journal. Go check him out at C Easterling at ABJ on Twitter and follow his stuff. It's great stuff, and he's just a genuine guy, especially when you start firing food questions at him, and he's like, "Stop for a second." He goes, "Well, I'm fat too, so there's not much I won't eat." That's always a good time. Brian, I can't thank you enough for a great show, bud. Always have fun doing this with you every week. Yep. It's an adventure. On that note, Brian, why don't you tell everybody good night?
God bless you. God bless America.
All right. Got that mixed up. My bad, buddy.
Sorry. You say the good night.
I'll say the good night.
All right,
good night, everybody. We want to thank our troops and our first responders for everything you guys do for us. We truly do appreciate you. Please come find us at Fatty Hams on Twitter, at Ham Illegal on Twitter. Find us on our Facebook page, our YouTube page. Please subscribe, follow, and like. We appreciate it. Our audio will be out later on tonight. I normally put out, you can catch it on any platform that you listen to the audio, which is Spotify. Like we go through Anchor. So Spotify, iHeart, I think a few others. So, and Vinny is no longer a part of the show. Vinny's taking a little bit of sabbatical, clearing his head and taking care of some family stuff. We have a seat open for him if he wants to come back. He's more welcome to come back. But for right now, he's just kind of taking a little mental break, which everybody's allowed to do. Brian and I have done it a few weeks here and there too. So on that note, we are definitely uncorked and unloaded. Thank you guys for watching. See ya.